Hello, everybody, and well, welcome back. Um, I know it's been quite a substantial amount of time since I posted anything last for any videos. This includes any degree of gaming, any even updates in regards to real life. And for that, I do apologize. I hope you all understand that this summer, especially with things in my mom's kitten rescue, among other things, just got so hectic, so busy, and this year was just so bad and so busy that I barely even had time for myself. Let alone being able to actually get in and play on games or whatever. So, yeah, I'll admit, I've been bad or good, depending on how you look at it, in that I opted to focus a little bit more on real life events, real life occurrences, getting my shit in order for real life, and not so much on the games. And this unfortunately did lead to me having something of a hiatus in regards to my YouTube channel. I am hoping to reboot that sometime over the next month or so. This next year, my mom is planning on finally actually taking a year off for the rescue, just basically minimum intake, trying to get some of the cats that we have in-house out. And that should hopefully mean that this coming year I have more time for me and my stuff, things that I want to do, and spending less time helping mom keeping cats, keeping appointments, and basically just keeping sanity as a whole. So, yeah, this is hopefully going to be a much better year coming up. To that end, I'm also wanting to get back into World of Warships. I'm wanting to get some of the other... I'm wanting to get a couple of other games recorded. For those of you who are interested in seeing me branch into something slightly different from what I'm used to showing, I'm actually looking at getting into the Witcher games series. And for those of you who enjoy those, I'm sure it will be fun watching me, because this is going to be my first time playing Witcher 1, Witcher 2, or Witcher 3 that I'm going to be showing you on here when I get that far. I've already got 1 and 2 downloaded for my computer. Those are the only... PC is the only platform it's available on. And when I get that far, I will probably switch over to the PS4, maybe, iffy. I'm undecided on that yet. It's like a $50 game through Steam or through PlayStation Store. So not looking at getting it right yet, but I've already got 1 and 2. And I'm looking at doing the recording, playing on those in relatively short order. In fact, as you're watching right now, I'm getting everything set up as best I can for starting to play Witcher 1. So we'll see how that goes overall. For those of you who are a little bit more curious regarding real life occurrences, real life endeavors, as many of you know by now, I am, well, as many of you who have been keeping up with my channel from beginning to now are aware, my transition is actually going very smoothly. And of course, I've gotten back into the point of talking in a slightly deeper voice. That's a little bit of a bad habit on my part. I do need to slip back into my natural voice a little bit more and allow that to be my representation. But yeah, it's just, I've got things, I'm a year and a half along, so 18 months in transition, folks. Hoo-yah! And for those of you who have probably seen my last video, things have changed a little bit since my last video. It's been, what? Oh God. 6 months. Let me actually pull up my YouTube channel here and look real quick. Shouldn't take too long for me to see when I last posted. Come on. My channel. Yes, thank you. I've still got I've got 148 subscribers, which I think is down. I think last time I saw it was like 150. So I'm sure I've lost a couple of people. But that's not what I'm here to look at, is it? Let's see. Temporary channel termination. 5 months ago. So when I did the channel termination 5 months ago, June 29th, there was one point in the kitchen where my... Oh, shoot, shut up. Didn't want to actually play the video, but looking at the images, looking at the feed from when I was recording 6 months ago, yeah, some changes have definitely occurred, and pretty noticeable ones at that. So I hope you all will be reasonably surprised to see my current appearance and how much more noticeable some things have gotten. I will leave that there. Let's see. Let's go ahead and turn on my overhead lighting here so that I can turn off that. There we go. That's a little bit better. Can't see my hair quite as well with this lighting, but it is what it is. And of course you see the glare off of my glasses even better. Oh well, not much I can do about that. But yeah, so things have actually been going relatively well of late. So again, trying to get back into the channel, trying to get everything going again, and we'll see how it goes. I don't have a whole lot of other things riding on me at the moment, so maybe I can actually get back into it on a regular basis. A couple of other minor things that I'm sure you all have noticed in frame already. I got myself a tattoo back in September. This is actually a dagger. Let's see if I can get a good image of it here. Okay. Yeah, there we go. This is a dagger that I have designed. I'm sure I've mentioned before that I have a book that I'm writing. It is actually from that book that I drew the namesake of my channel, which is Wadres. And the dagger is actually owned by the main character of the book. Not a whole lot of background that's really needed there, though there are a couple of special things about the dagger, which everybody will learn if I ever actually get as far as publishing or releasing the book. Which, in another note, I actually finished. Well, finished is probably not the correct term. It is done. I have completed writing what would be book 1. This is a huge milestone. This is something that I've been working on for 15 years, on and off, with I will dare say a rather lengthy writer's block. So the fact that this is actually done is a huge deal for me at this point. So yeah, I'm very, very glad to have that done so that maybe I can move on and start either editing book 1, which is probably a good idea, or 2, starting on book 2. So yeah, big things, big good things have been happening over the last couple of weeks. In fact, it was this past week while I was visiting my aunt over in Texas. Yes, I actually got away and was able to take a vacation. it was getting away to visit her that at night, sitting there late, mom and aunt are already asleep in bed. I'm sitting up late at night actually doing up the typing to get this finished. And I did. It's done. Again, it's not finished. I need to do the editing still, but it's done. So I can move on. Ah! Oh, wow, that was a really hideous face that I just made there, wasn't it? But, yes. I'm very, you have no idea how happy I am to have gotten that far, to have gotten that done. And I am very much looking forward to finally being able to move forward with that story, hopefully. For those of you who want a little bit of specifics on it right now, I'm not going to give you a synopsis. At least not a focused synopsis. Let's say one day, well, okay, not one day. Let's say that all of the legends, all of the stories you've heard about dragons in the past and through history or whatever, the legends, the myths, what if all of that one day turned out to be true? But not in the way that you're aware. What if it turned out that all of this was propaganda, war propaganda, put out by humans when they were fighting a massive war against dragons? And dragons are real. Now let's say 1,200 years ago, the dragons were nearing extinction. There were only 16 of them left, one for each of the representative races of dragon. Now, keep in mind, I say races, not species, because all of the dragons are capable of interbreeding. But to keep the races somewhat pure, they don't want to join their few remaining bloodlines to try and rebuild their society, not with 16 dragons. But here's the catch. Dragons are magical beings, which means they have some abilities that are maybe in defiance of proper explanation. They use their magic to take on human DNA, which then their bodies create corresponding traits to a human body. So they are capable of transforming into accurately duplicated human forms with traits that would exist naturally in humanity. So it's not, oh my God, this guy has horns, or this guy has scales, or a forked tongue, or can breathe fire. No. Fully, truthfully human bodies, human genitalia, human everything. And they go forth into human society, have kids, and history moves forward. Well, these dragons, by nature of their genes and by nature of the magic also, produce what are now referred to as human dragons. These are people who have normal human genes. They walk normally in human society, but they also have full dragon genes, which means they are capable of fully transforming into dragons. And I'm not talking puny little human-sized dragon form creatures. No, if you are a mature human being, you turn into a fully grown, mature dragon, which, depending on your race, can go from anywhere from 20 feet from nose to tail to 60 feet nose to tail. And that's not counting the effects of aging and growth in that regard. Some of your older senior citizen human dragons could be closer to 100 feet long. Yeah, so And of course, in all of this, you've got my main characters, two of whom are the only two human black dragons currently living. And we also start to see some of the other races, some of the ones that maybe weren't so lucky passing on their genetic lines. We start to see some of those races coming back through natural genetic and magical manipulation. So, and of course, because the true dragons, some of these results, the first true human dragons, that's a real contradiction in terms, isn't it? They're not true dragons. They are human dragons. They are still split to the dragon. The only true dragons were the ones that were were the heads of their genetic line. Anyone after that was human dragon. But for the first couple of generations after this joining, the human dragons were incapable, via magical protection, of transformation. So the true dragons, to kind of additionally defend their bloodlines, also triggered their own deaths early. No record of draconic society was left behind. Humanity destroyed any ancient dragon settlements, any ancient dragon records that they could find. Everything that they could find that was dragon related was obliterated. So these human dragons, once they started transforming, granted, they learned to be careful pretty damn quick. But once they started transforming, they realized that they had no history to base anything on, except all of this war propaganda or some of these legends that were being spread around by humans from a war that was, by this point, even starting to hit the point of, how should I say it? It was no longer memory for any of those who were telling the stories. At this point, it was all legend, myth, fiction. No one had seen a dragon in at least, say, 200 years by the generational, let's call it the generational gap of the human dragons. So, yeah. So another part of this story will come in that they are also relearning their history, relearning all of the skills that their predecessors had. This means relearning how to use magic, relearning their own history, rediscovering their history. In one case, much, much later in the story from where I am, or I am actually writing, but I do have it planned out, mind you, they actually find a repository of knowledge. That was the last-ditch effort of dragons, a small order of dragons, to salvage everything they could possibly get their hands on of their history, their culture, their language, everything. Imagine trying to save a society that is in collapse and being completely obliterated. And I apologize for those of you who are familiar with occurrences in and around the time of the Holocaust. This is basically what the Nazis were trying to do to the Jews. Except the humans versus dragons was a little bit more successful. But we will leave that at that. So I'm hoping to get this story fleshed out a little bit more. I'm hoping to be able to finally move on with advancing the story. Lord knows I've been able to write notes on it. I've got notebooks of handwritten notes that I need to now look at possibly typing up. And above all else, I need to start developing my story past what I had written years ago for my book 1 endpoint. And for those of you who are also wondering why 15 years is such a big deal, among other things, for this story, trying to figure out what Archie's doing back here. Sorry, side tangent. Trying to get all of this edited, I'm making it sound like it's such a big deal. First off, this is not what would likely be considered a publishable manuscript at this point in time. And not because of any degree of completeness or anything like that. Yes, it still needs editing, but I could take it to an editor and they could go through and give me suggestions, whatnot, or I could have somebody else help me proofread it. I can do the proofreading in my own time. That's not so much a big issue. The issue is the fact that I have 620 typed pages. And for some of you, you're already saying, oh crap, that's a lot. It gets better. This is 620 pages, single space, 12-point font. Again, 620 pages of this. So this is not 1.5 line spacing. This is not double line spacing. This is not huge text. No, this is 12-point font, single space, 620 pages, including the notes for book that will form the basis of book 2, the starting of book 2, over 400,000 words. Yeah. So this is not a small project. This is not something that I wrote on a whim and threw together like 100 pages of something that was double-spaced, large font, or whatever, and the storyline is half-assed. No, this is something that I have routinely gone back and forth on. I have gone back and done editing, spot edits here and there for a couple of chapters. I've gone back and I've done everything that I possibly can to make sure that I've maintained my continuity, that I've done everything that I could possibly do to maintain the lore that I've established, the world building around it, which, well, the world building isn't such a major issue because it's basically modern day, slightly modern day, like 8 years from now, modern day. And all I'm doing is basically throwing dragons into the world and saying, okay, here you are. And guess what? Now we're starting to add some new rules. It's fun. At least it is in my opinion. But then I'm the one who wrote it. I'm biased. So, yeah. Within reason, there may be even a couple of times where, say, I get a wild hair up my ass and decide to post, say, a snippet of me reading from this book. And for those of you who dislike that kind of thing, I apologize. It would also be a part of my editing process. So keep that in mind a little bit too for me, please. The whole basis of it would be partially reading through it and seeing how well it flowed, how well it moved, and if I came across something that to me didn't make sense or was inaccurate or has changed since I wrote it last or edited it last, that I can actually go through and do the editing. Hopefully there's not that much that I need to do, but the simple fact remains that I still have a lot to do. And being able to read it out loud and potentially do so here, where people can also listen to me reading my own story, hopefully it could help me out a lot. And of course, there's always the chance that if it gets to a point where I'm seriously considering getting it to a publisher, some of those videos would be pulled in a heartbeat. I probably shouldn't say that in case of people actually saving the video and trying to type it up on their own, but that's beside the point. This is dependent on whether or not I even actually do that. So anyway, that's where things stand in regards to that. Overall, life is getting back to a more stable point where I feel comfortable trying to put out videos again. And I hope you all can look forward to some of the content that I'm hoping to put up, including, again, my first playthroughs of Witcher 1, Witcher 2, and hopefully, maybe not immediate future, but somewhat close future, Witcher 3. And of course, I'm wanting to get back into World of Warships, World of Warplanes, and maybe even restart my Mass Effect playthrough series as well. We'll see on that. I can't really provide any guarantees on that. At least the Mass Effect one. But again, wanting to get back into warships, wanting to get back into warplanes at the very least. And yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see where that goes. On that note, I will let everybody go. I wish you all well. I apologize to all of you again for my absence. I hope you understand why I had to do it. It was a pretty substantial sanity check on my part. There was also just, I didn't have the time to keep my channel afloat. I really didn't, not with everything that was going on at the time. And I hope to get things going again. Have a good one, folks. I wish you all happy hunting. Stay safe out there. Stay healthy. And above all, happy hunting.